Hello, I'm Sumaya, and today I'll be talking about my final project for the class Programming with C. So, for this final project, we had to um, create a script that will perform like matrix addition or subtraction, matrix multiplication, transpose of a matrix, and finding solution of simultaneous linear equation with three unknown variables. So, we had to take like the input from a user what they want to do out of these four options, and then we had to create the script. So in the first part of this project we did the pseudocode for option B and C, which is the multiplication and finding the simultaneous solution. And while writing the pseudocode, I had the chance to compare my pseudocode with the AI generated one, which gave me a rough idea like to how to write the code for the main project for the final one. And that's why I could compare like how should I approach that. So that was like a plus point for me. And also while writing the script I faced some challenges and some difficulties which I'll be talking about now. So if you can see my script on the screen, I used user defined function, loop, and inline functions to do the code. And I try to define the function outside of the main function, so that in my main function don't have to call just go through that again, because I can just call the function and then do the calculation. So first I try to write the input matrix for that, so that when I call the matrix in each of the option, they will just take the input from the user. So we know that in matrix like we have to have a row and column. In this case I didn't define the number of rows and columns, because that will be dependent on my user, how much they wanna do. They can do a 2 by 2 or 3 by 3. So that's the input one. And then for show matrix, that is for like the output of the matrix that they will be given. Like for matrix A they will have the output for matrix A, it will just show what they put as the matrix. And then I did matrix addition, subtraction, and multiplication. So multiplication part was kind of challenging, but since I already went through that in the first part of the project, I had an idea of how to do that. But still, uh, when writing the code I try to make sure that I don't make any mistake. And I made a mistake in the transpose matrix, because I forgot to like because we know that in transpose matrix, if the matrix had like two rows and three columns, that will interchange. So three rows will become two rows and two columns will become three rows, like that. So I forgot to mention the condition for that. That's why it wasn't working for me in the beginning. But then I realized that I made a mistake with that my formatting, so I just fixed that. And then comes the hardest part, which is like the option D, finding the simultaneous solu- solution of a linear equation. So in this case I did the calculation for determinant outside of the main function, so that it's global for all of that. And for that I tried to make sure that I wrote the formula correctly, because when writing the formula inside a code using arrays to like I just made a mistake here, like I just did 2 again. So I couldn't figure out where was the issue with my code. But then I realized that I accidentally used 2 here instead of 1. So I tried to write it down in a copy too when I was putting the input here, so that it can help me to find out the problem. And then for linear equation, I defined matrix A by 3 by 3, because in the question in our project it said like we have to work with three unknown variables. So I defined that as a 3 by 3, and then we know that for determinant and for finding linear equation, we have to have like three columns and one row for that to interchange that. So that's what I did in this part. Dx equals determinant of matrix X. So this was kind of challenging because one mistake here could lead to like my answer being wrong. So I was making sure that I don't make any mistake again. The part from project one helped me here because I already went through that, so I was somewhat prepared and had an idea of how to do that, but still I was being very careful. Then I went to my main function, and for the main function I had to take two inputs. So the first input will be the uh, option the user choose from the four options, like the multiplication or subtraction, transpose, multiplication, or the system, like finding the simultaneous equation. So after that, if they choose option A, which is addition or subtraction, then they had to again put an input. Like if they want to do addition, then I put it as A. If they want to do addition, they will have to put a like uppercase A and lowercase s. So in this place I specifically mentioned like they have to put uppercase, which I didn't do for the other option, like for the first option, because I put case A and uppercase and lowercase a in the other option, just in case they don't like they just forget to put the uppercase or lowercase there. And yeah, I mentioned the condition too. So in this part I forgot to put the like the condition if row A is not equal to row B. So I skipped that, and that's why when I tried to do the math with the different number of rows and different number of columns, I didn't get the answer. So I realized that I made a mistake and I skipped this one, so then I added that. And yeah, so going to the multiplication, as I mentioned, I already had an idea about it, so that was fine for me. But in case D, when I tried to do the matrix, I just defined 3 by 3 here because we know that the matrix A will be 3 by 3, and for matrix B it will be 1 3 because they will have one row and just three columns, right? So I also mentioned that here in matrix L, matrix C, and then I put the input matrix as 3 3 for the first one, and for the second it is 1 3. So another challenge I faced was like while printing matrix B, so I just called the show matrix function to print matrix B, which was a mistake. So I had to debug that for a long time and try to find out where I did wrong. That that's when I realized that using a loop will be better for me. So I used a loop for that, and since that has only one like row, I just put the printf slash in at the last so that I don't have any issue printing that anymore. So after that I just put the linear, I just called the function linear function and did the calculation. So I think like calling the function and then put in like making the main function somewhat like less um wording was like a good choice, because that's what I did in my other class too for digital circuits lab. We did it like we were calling the function again and again. So yeah, I think that was the challenge that I faced, and then I used the online C compiler because that is easy for me. And then I just took a screenshot from there because in my computer the compiler runs slowly, so I thought I'll just use the online C compiler. And there's also like a paragraph of what I have learned from this project. So yeah, overall that was a good project which like helped me to um use the knowledge that I gained in the C programming class, like most of the concepts that was covered in the class, I could just implement in this project altogether. So yeah, thank you for watching the video.